All right. I need you to think of the biggest, heaviest thing you've ever seen an animal move.
Like an elephant shoving a tree over?
Bigger. Per year. Total weight moved. And it's not the elephant. It's not the mole. It's not the wild boar or the bison or the wombat. The single animal on Earth that moves more material than any other is a bird.
That can't be right.
With its feet, while it's singing.
No.
Stay with me. Welcome back to the Fenekie Explorer Club, where every animal is a superhero in disguise.
Calling all Fennekians.
This week we're heading to the wet forests of southeastern Australia, and we've found something extraordinary.
He moves more earth than any other animal alive, not with a machine, with his own 2 feet while he sings.
Let's go. Before we get to the superpower, I want you to know where this animal lives, because the habitat is everything here.
Set the scene.
Southeastern Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, Tasmania, the wet sclerophyll forests, the tall eucalyptus forests where the trees can grow 60, 70, 80 meters. Think about that. 80 meters is around 260 feet. These are enormous trees. The canopy is so high it's almost out of sight, and underneath it, the forest floor is buried under something.
What kind of something?
Leaf litter, but not a thin dusting of it. A deep, compressed, ancient layer of fallen leaves and old bark and dead wood and mossy logs, all pressed together by the rain for years and years. In some places, it's knee-deep. It's dark and rich and full of things that live in the dark.
And that's where our bird lives.
That's where he spends his whole day, not in the canopy, not hunting from the air. He's down on the floor in the deepest part of the litter from morning to afternoon every day.
Okay, tell me about him. What does he look like?
He's called the superb lyrebird. Males are about 100 centimeters long, that's 39 inches, about the height of a 3-year-old, but stretched into a bird shape. He weighs just over a kilogram, just over 2 pounds. Brown feathers with a warm, coppery sheen. He looks like the forest. He's built to be in it, not to stand out from it.
Not a bright tropical bird.
Completely the opposite. He blends right in. But here's the thing people know about, or think they know about, the tail.
The lyre tail, yes.
The 2 outer tail feathers can grow to 60 centimeters. That's about 2 feet of tail. And they have this incredible shape. They literally look like a lyre, which is a small, ancient harp-like instrument. 2 curved arms and a crosspiece. That's where the name comes from.
And the tail sort of fans out behind him like a peacock?
Okay, this is the part people almost always get wrong, and it matters for picturing him. The tail does not fan out behind him like a peacock. In display, he throws it forward. The whole lyre-shaped tail swings forward over his head and frames his face from above while he dances.
Wait, he puts his own tail over his face?
Over his head, yes. He's looking through the curtain of his own tail feathers while he sings and dances.
That is so strange, and I love it.
And he dances on a display mound, a cleared circular patch of ground, no leaves, swept bare, right there on the forest floor. He maintains several of these mounds inside his territory. Each one is his own performance stage.
He builds his own stages?
Sweeps them clean of every leaf and stick and keeps them clear. And at the peak of the breeding season, June through August, winter in Australia, he sings there and dances there up to 4 hours a day. This bird is absolutely committed.
Okay, so beautiful, strange, elaborate, and his superpower is not any of that?
His superpower is his feet.
The feet. So tell me how.
He scratches? That's it. He scratches the forest floor all day looking for food. Beetles, spiders, worms, centipedes, and these tiny little crustaceans called amphipods. If you want to picture them, think tiny pale creatures the size of a grain of rice, little shrimp of the forest floor.
That's adorable. Tiny forest shrimp.
Technically, they're amphipods, which are crustaceans, so they're in the same wider family. And he loves them. He digs and rakes through the litter all morning finding them. And a team of researchers, Maisie and colleagues, publishing in Ecological Applications in 2021, measured what that actually does to the forest floor. And the number they found made them double-check their data.
What was the number?
155 tons of leaf litter and soil moved per hectare per year.
Okay, I need to unpack that for smaller listeners. A ton is about as heavy as a small car. So what's 155 of those?
Picture 155 small cars stacked up. That much material shifted, raked, turned over in one patch of forest every year. And a hectare is about 2 football pitches. So in the ground covered by 2 football pitches, the lyrebirds move the equivalent of 155 cars.
By scratching.
By scratching. Now here's the comparison that makes this hit hardest. Other digging animals, pocket gophers, moles, bandicoots, batongs, the animals you'd normally think of as earth movers, they manage about 10 to 20 tons per hectare per year. Not 10 times less than the lyrebird, not 5 times more than that.
And order of magnitude.
The paper says lyrebirds displace litter at a rate that exceeds other digging vertebrates by an order of magnitude. The paper's own words, they're not shy about it.
And how does a bird beat a mole?
He does it all day, every day, because he has to eat all day to survive. The mole does its thing in specific burrows. The lyrebird covers his whole territory, every day, every season, year after year. The accumulation is what gets you.
Right. It's not one dramatic act, it's the everyday thing.
The everyday thing done every single day. And what it does to the forest floor isn't random damage, it's the 5 links of a chain. Can I run through them?
Please.
Link 1, he rakes. The litter gets disturbed, the leaves scatter, the packed surface breaks open. Link 2, the litter gets thinner. Where he's worked, it doesn't pile up and compress. The soil underneath stays loose and crumbly, aerated, not packed tight. Link 3, more bugs. More kinds of bugs. This is the one that surprised everybody, and we'll dig into the science of it in a moment, but the short version is, in the loose, disturbed, turned over ground, more invertebrates live, more beetles, more spiders, more of those tiny pale amphipods, more than in undisturbed ground. Link 4, he eats them. He's the one who made the conditions, so he's also the one who benefits. And link 5, in the bare patches his feet leave, the little scraped clear spots where the litter is thin, twice as many seeds get their chance to sprout. Seeds that have been buried under a heavy blanket of leaves for months or years, pressing them down, blocking the light. When he sweeps the litter thin, those seeds finally wake up.
So it's a whole chain. Every link causes the next one.
Every link measured and confirmed. There's no leap at the end. 5 links, all solid.
And he's just trying to have breakfast.
He is just trying to have breakfast.
Can I ask what the ground actually looks like after he's been through? Because I'm picturing raked leaves, kind of like garden mulch.
So you get these bare patches. Spots where the litter is thin or gone completely, the dark soil exposed. And around those, where the litter is still present but thinner, it sits loose rather than compressed. It's the difference between a packed down bed of leaves and a crumbled up aerated layer where things can actually move. Invertebrates respond to that texture difference, the crumble.
The crumble.
The crumble is the whole thing. That's the habitat. And the permanent bare patches, the little scraped clear spots, those are where the seeds get their moment. Deep litter acts like a blanket, a heavy, lightless blanket. Seeds underneath it can't germinate. When the blanket lifts, they can.
He lifts the blanket.
Every day. He doesn't know he's doing it. He's looking for the beetle in the top layer.
Okay, I have a logic problem with link 3. He's eating all the bugs, so shouldn't there be fewer bugs where he's been?
That is exactly the right question, and it's the question a team of researchers decided to answer in a paper published in 2025 in the Journal of Animal Ecology.
2025? That's very recent.
This is new science, and the experiment they designed is really clever. They set up 3 different treatments in the forest. First, plots where lyrebirds could come and go freely. Second, plots that were fenced off from lyrebirds completely, untouched ground, nothing disturbing it. And third, the clever one, plots that were also fenced off from lyrebirds, so no bird was eating anything, but where researchers went in by hand and raked the litter the way a lyrebird would, exactly mimicking the disturbance without any predation.
So they were separating out the raking from the eating.
Exactly, and in those hand-raked plots, no lyrebird eating anything, just the disturbance, they found 52% more invertebrate biomass than in the untouched plots. more than half again as many beetles and bugs and amphipods, and 14% more kinds of creature. About 1 in every 7 kinds was new to that patch.
The raking itself makes more bugs.
The raking itself makes the conditions where more bugs can live. When you turn the litter over, mix the layers, break the packed surface, aerate the soil, invertebrates thrive in it. The amphipods especially responded strongly. And then the lyrebird plots came in lower than the hand-raked plots, because he's also eating everything he finds, but only a bit lower. The digging replenishes what the eating takes.
He's farming. He's literally farming his own food supply.
He is farming his own food supply, and he has no idea he's doing it. A positive feedback loop. He rakes because he's hungry. The raking makes more food, so there's more to eat, so he rakes more.
And he has no idea.
Not one idea. He's just hungry. He's always hungry.
That might be my favorite thing I've heard this year.
And then there's the seed part, which is its own little miracle. The bare patches he leaves, the places where his claws scrape the litter thin and expose the soil, Maisie and colleagues measured this separately in 2022 and found that over 2 years, more than double the number of seed germinants appear in those engineered patches compared to untouched ground.
Twice as many seeds wake up.
Twice as many seeds wake up. Now this is important. We're careful to say seeds that are germinating, seeds that are beginning to sprout. The same study looked at whether this changed how many seedlings actually grew into plants. And within 2 years, it didn't, because a lot of the seedlings got eaten by other animals. So we're not saying he's regrowing the forest by himself.
But he's giving twice as many seeds their chance at the starting line.
Twice as many seeds get their chance. That's what's measured.
And somewhere in the forest right now, there are seeds sprouting because a bird was hungry.
Because a bird was hungry, scratching at the ground, not knowing any of this.
Okay, we have to talk about the singing because a lyrebird without talking about the singing is only half the story, even if the singing isn't the superpower this week.
The singing is extraordinary, and it genuinely deserves its own moment.
What can he actually do?
So a mature male lyrebird has a song that is enormous in complexity. He produces his own lyrebird vocalizations, his own original calls, and he also mimics other birds. Real mimicry, accurate enough to fool the birds being mimicked. And he weaves all of these sounds together in sequences so complex that one bird sounds like an entire mixed chorus.
He sounds like a whole forest of birds.
One bird, alone, producing what sounds like many birds at once. And the sophistication goes even further. There's research published in 2021 in Current Biology by Dalziel and colleagues, where they documented a specific display, a male lyrebird producing the acoustic signature of a mixed species alarm flock. The sound of a whole flock of different birds all alarmed at once. Flutter of wings, scattered chirping, the whole pattern you'd hear if a predator appeared and every bird in the area sounded off together.
Solo, one bird.
One bird doing all of it. The researchers describe it as a sophisticated vocal deception, using a social alarm signal in a completely different context than it evolved for. It's one of the most complex vocal performances documented in any animal.
And their own sounds. What do those sound like? Because I've heard recordings and some of it sounds almost mechanical.
This is one of my favorite things about the lyrebird. He makes sounds that seem like they shouldn't come from a living creature. There's a clicking, a deep resonant twanging like a thick string being plucked, and this almost scissors-like sound, a dry scraping that you'd never guess was a bird. These aren't mimicry, these are his own calls, part of his own lyrebird vocabulary.
So the wildness of the sound is his, not borrowed.
All his. And layered into that are the bird calls he's absorbed from his forest, the alarm calls, the contact notes, the songs of neighbors he hears every day. The whole thing becomes this unbelievably complex weaving of what he is and what he's heard.
And none of the birds he's mimicking know he can do that.
They have no idea. He sounds like the forest itself.
While he's also building the forest floor with his feet.
Quietly, without any idea he's doing it.
Can we talk about how this song gets made? Because young lyrebirds don't just arrive knowing all of this.
No, and this is where Digby's story gets personal. Young males spend several years listening to older males and practicing before their song is finished. Several years. No source pins an exact number because it varies, but it's years, not months. The song is built piece by piece, turn by turn, by listening and trying and getting it wrong and trying again.
So there's a version of Digby right now who is out in the forest scratching for beetles all day with an unfinished song inside him that he keeps working on.
Listening to the older males sing, trying the complicated parts, getting some of it right, getting some of it wrong. The full song is still somewhere ahead of him.
I find that genuinely moving. The thing he'll eventually be known for, he's not there yet. And the thing he does all day, the digging, the scratching, feels like nothing, like just being hungry.
Except the thing he does all day is what makes the forest floor alive.
Can you put yourself in that position for a second? You're trying to learn this enormous, complicated song, and you can hear it clearly when the older males do it, but every time you try the hard part, it doesn't come out right. And in between, you just scratch around looking for beetles because you're hungry. That's the whole day, every day.
And from the outside, an observer would see a bird scratching for beetles. Not the practice, not the gap he can hear between where he is and where he's going, just a bird on the ground, eating.
All the work completely invisible.
Both kinds of work, the song practice and the forest engineering. Neither visible from the outside, both happening.
He thought he was just hungry.
That's exactly it. He thought he was just hungry.
Let's talk about where he stands. How rare is he?
He's not rare, actually. He's least concern on the IUCN Red List, assessed in 2018. He's got range. He's got numbers. He's not a species we're rushing to pull back from the edge.
Which actually makes the conservation story more interesting to me, because it's not he's disappearing, it's something else.
It's the forest needs him. That's the real story. And we know it because of what happens when he's gone.
Tell me.
The exclusion experiments. Same mazy research. They fenced lyrebirds out of sections of forest for an extended period and measured what changed. The leaf litter in those excluded sections built up to 3 times the depth of the open sections, 3 times deeper.
Because nothing was turning it.
Nothing was turning it. It just piled on itself, layer after layer, pressing down, and the soil underneath became more compacted, harder, less aerated. The crumbliness he maintains, the looseness that lets invertebrates thrive, disappears without him.
So the floor of the forest is structurally different based on whether he's there.
Measurably, testably different. And there's a layer to this that's more recent and more urgent. The 2019-20 fires in Australia were devastating. They burned through somewhere between 33 and 40% of the lyrebird's distribution. That's a serious fraction of where he lives.
Which means a lot of his territory burned.
And what he does to the litter has a fire dimension too. Lyrebirds thin the fuel on the forest floor by about 1/4 in 9 months. Fire modeling suggests that may mean less intense fires, and the researchers are careful to say it is modeling. Nobody has yet followed a real fire through lyrebird country and compared it to country without them.
So we know the fuel load goes down, and the models suggest that matters for fire. But nobody's been able to test it in a real fire yet.
That's exactly where the science sits. The direction is suggestive, the measurement of the mechanism is real, the fire outcome isn't measured yet.
That's honest, and it's still remarkable.
Introduced predators are the other pressure. Foxes and cats are the real threat to him on the ground, especially to nests. Lyrebirds nest on or near the ground. The female builds a domed nest and raises the chick entirely alone.
The female does it all herself?
The male doesn't help with nesting or parenting at all. He's building his stages and working on his song. The female builds, incubates, and raises the chick without any help. She's doing an extraordinary amount of work.
And she's also digging?
She scratches and rakes too. The engineering effect isn't only from the males. Both sexes are out there turning the ground.
The whole species is feeding the forest.
The whole species, day after day, just by being hungry.
Okay, here's what I keep coming back to. There's a scientific term for animals like this: ecosystem engineers. The animals that don't just live in a place, but reshape it. Beavers who build dams and create wetlands. Elephants who open forests by pushing trees. And now, lyrebirds, who maintain the whole floor of the Australian wet forest by scratching for their breakfast.
That's the formal term, ecosystem engineer. It puts him in exactly that company. And I think what makes this week's animal so special is that the engineering is entirely accidental. The beaver knows it's building. The lyrebird has no idea.
He's just trying to fill his belly and get his song right.
That's the whole story, and the forest depends on it.
Quiz time.
Let's do it.
4 questions. If you're listening in the car, shout the answers. If you're at home, see who gets there first.
Question 1. We said that Digby moves a huge amount of litter and soil per hectare every year. Remember, a hectare is about 2 football pitches. We compared the weight to something you see on the road every day. What was the number we said, and what was the comparison?
Pause if you want to think about it.
Ready? 155 tons, about as heavy as 155 small cars, moved through 2 football pitches of forest every year by scratching.
Question 2. When scientists raked the forest floor by hand, exactly the way Digby does it, but without a bird eating anything, what happened to the number of beetles and bugs?
More? Fewer? The same?
More than half again as many, because turning the litter makes better conditions for invertebrates to live in. The raking itself grows the food.
Question 3, and this one is about the song. True or false, young lyrebirds are born knowing their full song.
Take a moment with this one.
False. Young males spend several years listening to older males and practicing before their song is finished. It's not born, it's built, turn by turn, year by year.
I love that so much. The song is built.
Question 4, bonus round. The display mound, the cleared circular stage the male sings and dances on, who built it?
Is it natural or does he make it?
He makes it himself. Every leaf swept clear, every twig removed. He maintains several of them inside his territory and he keeps them clean. The stage is his, from scratch.
From scratch is the right word for this bird.
Always. Okay, before we close it out, if you could only keep one fact from this week, what would it be?
The green shoots, the seeds waking up in the bare patches his feet left. He's walking away, and behind him, the forest is starting to grow, and he doesn't turn around.
He doesn't turn around.
He's just looking for the next beetle.
The farming, for me. By scratching because he's hungry, he creates more food for himself to scratch for. He feeds himself by feeding himself. It's such a perfect loop, and he will never know it.
He will never know it. That's the superb lyrebird. A real creature in a real place, doing real things that sound like magic. If you want to go deeper, the storybook, the pictures, all of it, find us at Fenekie.com. That's spelled Fenekie.
Until next week, Fennekians, keep wondering.